Hello everyone and welcome back to the GCOR Show. Today we're going to be talking about the next driver to break into the so-called top 3. And the reason I say so-called is because obviously it's down to your own personal opinion. Which currently, at least in my opinion, holds Coward, Chicona 75 and Dino Bambino. So today we're going to be talking about the next driver to be able to consistently, on a regular basis, not only challenge for poles or wins, but challenge for that world championship. So without further ado, let's get into this video. I also wanted to pay, before I start, I just wanted to pay a little tribute to one driver who didn't make it on this list, and that's Charlie Dorr. We've not really seen too much of him because he had a little injury as well, which kept him out for a few races, and obviously he's been a little bit misfortunate with incidents, but going off raw pace, Charlie Dorr could be the next up-and-coming rising star, Obviously, this season is going to be partnering up with Dino Bambino at Ferrari, so that should be very interesting, I can't wait to see that. At McLaren, he did a brilliant job, only the few races they did, so who knows, but we still got to gauge him a little bit. So I just wanted to let you guys know, he just missed out on this list. Who do I think is going to be able to challenge? I've got a few names on my list, but I'm going to start off with Nas, My case for Nas. So Nas, he's a brilliant driver to start off with. He's got, good amount of experience, not only in GCOR, but in racing in general. And has shown on multiple occasions he is good enough to not only fight for poles, but also wins, He is a GCOR race winner, let's not forget that. And he's got so much potential. The unfortunate thing is, I know last season was a tricky season for him because he had a lot of, reliability issues, But Nas, he's won a race in GCOR, that race being Belgium, back in Gen 3 Season 1, and also has 2 pole positions, Completed 18 races, and has managed to get 6 podiums, That's a decent record, That's like, once every 3 races, he goes and bags a podium. So, that is a good record to have. However, as I said, his team are really going to have to fix his reliability issues. That's his biggest problem. Yeah, it would help if he turned up to some of these races, but sometimes he's just, qualifying but unable to start the race because of mechanical issues. So, if Aston Martin can fix that, I'm sure he'll be up there because his pace, his raw talent is definitely up there. He's managed to get, he's managed to get more poles than some big names on this list, Managed to get more poles than the likes of Midget Matt, the likes of Ollie Freeman, the likes of Hurricane, sorry. So, yeah, he's definitely got the potential. But anyways, the next driver on my list, actually, is Midget Matt. He's also one of those drivers who came from that, who are in that era where they entered GCOR in the Gen 3 era. Midget Matt, Nas, Hurricane, Foop, those type of drivers. And Midget Matt, he's also there. Midget Matt, he's got terrific understanding of motor racing in general. And is a brilliant team player, Great team owner. And he's also shown he can fight for poles. He can win races, This season wasn't his best season. However, knowing Midget Matt, he's going to come back stronger. He's going to bounce back. And we've seen that many times, We were just talking about it the other day. He was probably in the best position to win at Interlagos, It was just unfortunate he got tapped from behind. But he could have actually won at Interlagos. And then we'd be sitting here with another story on our hands, Dino Bambino wins championship after Midget Matt wins the race, But anyways, that's in another universe. That's an alternate universe. But Midget Matt, all he needs now is just that consistency. Because what happens sometimes to him? Sometimes he goes a little bit anonymous in the Grand Prix. You know, he ghosts out a little bit. So it doesn't happen all the time, but just some races where he's running in a good position. You know, let's say a 4th or a 5th spot, just minding his own business. And don't get me wrong, it's not a bad thing. You know, getting those good points, not being involved in any trouble. But I would like to see Midget Matt at the top a little bit more often. And yeah, that's my case for Midget Matt being the next driver to break in the top 3. Next one I've got on the list is actually Foop. Foop, his qualifying pace is one of, if not the best on the grid. You know, his qualifying pace is tremendous. Last season, obviously, managed to get the most poles on the grid. And even race wins, I think he's got second most race wins in the Gen 3 era? Just behind Dino Bambino and Chicona 75. So Foop definitely, on paper, he is the next guy. He is the closest driver to essentially break into the top boys. He's a phenomenal racer. His wheel-to-wheel combat is also very good. I know last season he was involved in a little bit of controversy, especially in Mexico, a little bit in Coda. But these things are going to happen when you're a racing driver. In general, I've always said this. He's got very good racecraft, but one area where he's going to have to improve, I think, is just trying to keep his cool. Just trying to keep his head. Sometimes he gets a little bit hot-headed, not only inside the car but outside of the car. So if you can try and control his emotions, I'm sure, and relax it a little bit, especially when you're behind the wheel of a car that's going, 200 plus miles per hour, that will definitely help him improve his racing. In terms of like him turning up to races, he's so reliable. You know that he'll turn up to almost all of the races, if not all of them. And the races where he can't turn up, he's got a very valid reason. This guy, he was racing with a broken wrist at the start of the season. Let's not forget that. Still managed to bag a win at Saudi Arabia. So, as I said, on paper, you look at it, and Foop is the closest man to breaking into the top group. He's also managed to get that Red Bull team around him. Now that Dino Bambino's left Red Bull, Foop essentially is the number 1 driver. And even though his teammates are unconfirmed, at least at the time of uploading this video, Foop himself can do a brilliant job, and I'm sure Foop on his own can easily get that Red Bull team into the top 5 of the Constructors' Championship. Whether it's good enough to fight at the top regularly for race wins, yeah, sure, I don't see why not. Obviously, it's the same era, but we do have slight rule changes going into the F1 2023 era. Like the cars, they've got a little bit more traction, a little bit more grip. So hopefully that will suit Foop's driving style a little bit more. But there's only one way to find out, really. Next driver on the list that I've got is Ollie Freeman. Ollie Freeman, I guess you could say he's also one of those guys who've, like Midget Matt, like Nas, like Foop, like Hurricane, who have come into GCOR in the Gen 3 era. Yeah, he missed out the first part of the Gen 3 Season 1 season, but I think he's managed to establish himself in the paddock and give himself a good name. He's very quick off the back, in qualifying especially. You always know, especially on his day, he can qualify definitely in the top 4. Ollie Freeman. Even getting that, his maiden pole position in France. But where he kind of lacks is just the consistency to race after race be not really fighting, but it's just the mistakes, just small errors. And it's a small errors. He doesn't really make big errors, but small things which have big outcomes, If he can clear that up, Who knows? He could be the next driver fighting for the championship. He's a brilliant team player. Obviously, guiding GN7 Mercedes to 2 back-to-back constructors titles now in the Gen 3 era. Now, definitely without him, GN7 wouldn't have won the constructors. So, he's done a brilliant job there. He's also managed to get the most out of Ciccone by pushing him to his limit, as we saw towards the end of the Gen 3 Season 1 season. When he first came into that team, he was actually beating Chick. I remember Belgium when he managed to qualify, I think it was P3. Whilst Chick qualified, I think it was P7 or something. And by the end of the first lap, Ollie Freeman was running P2. But guess what? A small mistake crept in. He spun the car, and like that, his race was up. Same thing at to be fair, Silverstone, the race after that, it wasn't really his fault because it was a multi-21 call, but he had Chick that whole weekend. He was faster than him, so I think that him beating Chick's really managed to get the most out of Chick as well, which is good if you're Ollie Freeman. You're getting the most out of your teammate, and overall out of the whole team. But yeah, if you can just clear up those small errors, if you can be involved in less incidents, who knows? He might be the next one. And last but not least, the final driver on this list I've got is actually Hurricane. Hurricane, this guy, I mean, talk about road to glory. He's gone from being literally a fidget spinner at Australia in the second race of the Gen 3 era to finishing third in the Drivers' Championship, being a GCOR race winner, and just consistent, just being Mr. Consistent. This season he was very, very consistent. He did a brilliant job all season long, even when, that mid-season switch from Williams to Alpine. I think him going to Alpine's actually even helped him. He's become an even better driver. We've had 12 races. We had 12 races last season. Managed to get a podium in 6 of them. That's a brilliant statistic. Especially if you're driving for Alpine, which, they struggled a little bit last season. I mean, Midget Matt got 1 podium, and Hurricane managed to get 6. Hurricane, he was walking into Midget Matt's team. Midget Matt has managed to get that Alpine team around him. He's just walked into that team and gone and outscored him. Don't get me wrong, as I said, Midget Matt will be back stronger than ever. He'll be back. Midget Matt is he's a born winner, and I know he's going to come back stronger. But for Hurricane to just do that in his first season, not even first full season, like first half season, it's just sensational. Getting that win at Coda, fully deserved. I was seeing a little bit in the chat, a little bit in social media, people saying he was lucky. But at the end of the day, you make your own luck. Like, at the end of the day, Red Bull messed up Dino Bambino's strategy. Chick, yes, it was a little bit harsh, the disqualification, but at the end of the day, if he just waits 2 more seconds, he doesn't end up getting disqualified in the first place. And Hurricane had the best strategy. Hurricane and the Alpine team had the best strategy. And on the day, he was just quick. You've got to give it to him. Does fully deserve that race win. And, well, I mean, if he keeps on developing at the same rate of knots, it's gonna be scary, honestly. it's gonna be something special, if he already isn't. Where could he improve? Yeah, same thing really. Sometimes in races he just ghosts out a little bit. As I said, that's not really a bad thing. I mean, at Mexico, forgot he was even racing until he ended up finishing second. China, same thing. I don't even know where he qualified, but he ended up finishing second there. At Monaco, because he had a quali ban, he had to start from the back of the grid at Monaco. Ended up just missing out on the podium. I think he finished 4th, was it? I think it was 4th, around Monaco. So that's what he's managed to learn with time, I think. But obviously, if you want to fight for a championship, you've got to be fighting at least for the top 3 positions week in, week out. But if he keeps on developing at this same rate, I'm sure we'll see that this season. Could this season be the season where Hurricane takes that next step? Where he becomes a consistent race winner. where he becomes, a real force to be reckoned with. Because if he can do that, wow, what a season we're going to be in for. What a season. But yeah, that's my little analysis. I think, personally, at this current moment in time, I think Hurricane is the closest to making it. But obviously, the season starts in, well, literally tomorrow. So it'll be interesting to see what happens, what pans out. And obviously the cars are a little bit different as well this season, so should be interesting. But yeah, that's it with the GCOR show this week. Hope to see you in the next one. Obviously the season's starting, so I hope to see you on the grid as well. And yeah, ta-da.